Hi, my name is Laurie, and I struggle with bipolar disorder type 2 and borderline personality disorder. So right now, I am actually going through one of the worst times that I've ever had as far as depression. It has been quite a few years since I've been this deep and this dark into depression. And because of that, I have been watching YouTube videos, and I've watched Scott Stay Marie. He does a lot of videos on depression. I've also been watching Dr. Scott Eilers, and I was watching his video about the different symptoms of depression. And so I decided to look up on the Mayo Clinic their list of symptoms of depression, and then kind of go over the list as it is from the view of a patient, because I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm the patient. I'm the one that's actually experiencing it right now. And today, I did have enough strength to get up out of the bed, take a shower, and slap on some powder so that I could do this video. But the truth is, I think that I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to talk about my depression and talk about how I feel, and I didn't have anyone else to talk to, so I just turned on the camera. I am going through a really difficult time in life right now. My mom, who is 89 years old, recently died of a stroke. Well, I lived with her, and because of my mental illness, I haven't been able to work, and she paid the bills. But I only have enough money left in the bank for a couple of months, and then I'm out. And I have no idea what to do. I don't know whether to find housing based on my income or lack of income. I don't know whether to try and find a part-time job and hope that I can keep it long enough, and then maybe if I'm not able to keep it, then I can go on to the next one. Like, my life is just so up in the air right now, and on top of that, I'm grieving the loss of my mom. And on top of that, I have bipolar disorder, and I have sunk down into a very deep bipolar depression. So I'm going to go over the list of what the Mayo Clinic says are the symptoms of clinical depression, but then I'm going to give the viewpoint of the patient and how I feel about it. Okay? So the first one is feelings of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, or hopelessness. I definitely have that. I will start crying for just no reason and just continue to cry. And I just have this hopeless feeling, like there's no way. There is no way that I'm strong enough to change my circumstances. There's no way that I'm strong enough to get through this on my own. Like, there is no hope. There is no answer. What am I going to do? And I have really, really been struggling with that. The second one, and this is the one that really surprised me: angry outbursts, irritability, or frustration, even over small matters. I cannot believe the level of anger that I have had over the last few weeks. I can't even tell you how many times I have yelled at someone over the phone. Now, luckily, most of it was spam. However, I did yell at somebody twice about insurance. And I yelled at Siri this morning because I was trying to tell Siri to take a note, and as I was saying it, she interrupted me and said, "What would you like to say?" And then as I started saying it, well, she messed up and couldn't take the note because she had interrupted me. I got so frustrated and started screaming at my phone. Like, I am really struggling to the point that I had a friend that asked me a couple of weeks ago if she could take me to lunch. Now, she was trying to spend time with me and cheer me up, but I didn't trust my emotions. I didn't know if I could go through lunch and not burst into tears and start crying in the restaurant. I didn't know if I could go to lunch, and what if she said something that irritated me like Siri did, and I yelled at my friend and I lost a relationship. I just didn't feel like I could afford to get out of the house, which then brings me back to, how am I supposed to find a job? How am I supposed to work and take care of myself and pay the bills if I can't control my emotions? And I can't stay here because I don't have any money, and it's just a vicious circle, and it's just making things worse. And so I'm really struggling to climb out of this. 3, loss of interest or pleasure in most of all normal activities, such as hobbies or sports. Now, on that one, I will tell you that I have absolutely lost interest in everything. Even television. I can't watch a comedy because they're not funny. I can't watch a television show because I can't concentrate and I can't think about it and everything upsets me. And so I'm just watching the Great British Baking Show. I mean, it's very calming, it's very mind-numbing. I enjoy the show, but I mean, I don't have to have any feelings or emotions that go along with it. And if I'm not paying attention or I lose interest or whatever, it's not a big deal if I miss some of it. I've noticed that I don't enjoy being around people that I know that I know that I love them and I know that I enjoy them intellectually or analytically or whatever word you would want to use. I mean, I actually know this, and yet I don't feel any excitement about seeing someone. I don't feel any excitement about being around anyone. I've kind of lost that connection of love, yet I know that I love them, and yet I've lost that feeling. And so it's really, really difficult. It's really a struggle. And it's very confusing because it's like, but I know I love that person and I know that I enjoy being around them. But right now, I just can't even stand the thought about being around this person. It's really a struggle. The fourth one is sleep disturbances, including insomnia or sleeping too much. I have had both. I remember one night I was so depressed, I didn't want to go to bed. I didn't want to go to bed. I just wanted to stay in my chair and watch the Great British Baking Show and kind of feel safe. And I didn't want to go to bed because I was scared I wouldn't be able to sleep, or I was scared that I would wake up the next day and be in a worse mood. I don't know what it was. It was kind of weird, but I just had this feeling of, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to sleep. I just want to sit here. I just want to be left alone. It was just a very weird feeling, but it definitely has affected me. I sometimes get depressed and I do sleep more, but other times I'm kind of agitated and angry and I really struggle to fall asleep. And then I get really kind of fed up with that and get discouraged, and it's like, why can't I just go to sleep? So it's definitely affected that. And I have that always. I always have sleep disturbances anyway, just because I have bipolar disorder. Tiredness and lack of energy, so that even small tasks take extra effort. Oh my gosh. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I have been so tired and so lethargic in the past that I have gone to the doctor and said, something is wrong with me. Like, you need to take my blood work. Something is really, really wrong with me. I am sick. And they take my blood work, they check everything, they do tests, and everything is fine. But somehow or another, it's hard to realize that this tiredness and lethargy is because of depression, because it is a physical symptom. And so I keep thinking, well, there's got to be something physically wrong. I have to be low in vitamins, or I have to be, like, I keep thinking it's a physical thing. And yet I keep hearing over and over and over again, or I read or I study, that it does have to do with depression. And I get so tired and so lethargic that at times it's hard to keep my eyes open. And yet I can't fall asleep. And I feel like, well, you don't need to drive like this, because if a policeman pulled you over, they would look at your eyes and they would think, well, you're under the influence, even though I'm not. I am just that tired and lethargic. So that's a real one. That's a problem. The other one, reduced appetite and weight loss, or increased cravings for food and weight gain. Now, for me, in the beginning, after my mom died, I noticed that I was eating less. I just didn't care about food. But the more depressed I got, I started craving carbs. And it got to where I was wanting pizza every single day. So I looked it up and I was like, why, when I'm depressed, would I crave carbs all the time? And it said that when you eat carbs, it actually affects the neurotransmitters in your brain. I think specifically maybe serotonin. Anyway, it makes you feel good for just a little bit. Now, it's temporary, and in the end, the food is bad for you. Processed white flour, white sugar, it's obviously in the long run going to make you even more tired and lethargic. But for a few moments, it makes you feel better. And so therefore, I just kept craving carbs just because I needed to feel better so badly. Anxiety, agitation, or restlessness. Now that one for me goes along with the anger. I was angry and agitated and nervous and anxious, and I kept thinking that that had to do with hypomania, but now I can see that it could have to do with depression. I'm not positive, because in the beginning of this, I was running off of agitation, anger, anxiety, extreme fear, and then it went to depression and extreme fear. And so I think maybe it is the fear that is causing me to be agitated. And yet I can't stop it. I cannot stop the fear. I know in the Bible that it tells us fear not, but I literally can't stop it because my brain is not working in full capacity. My brain is just not healthy right now, and I'm unable to regulate my own emotions. Slowed thinking, speaking, or body movement. Now, that is absolutely, and that's part of the reason I'm watching the Great British Baking Show. I have noticed that my thoughts at times are very, very slow, and it's hard. It's like, I feel like there's like this cloud of gloom over my brain, and I can almost see it as well as feel that it's just cloudy in my head. And it's like the thoughts won't get through the cloud. And that goes with, there's another one that says, trouble thinking, concentrating, making decisions, and remembering things. And I think that those two kind of go hand in hand, because I've noticed that my memory is really bad because those thoughts just won't penetrate through that cloud of darkness. And so I've noticed that my thoughts are really bad and that my memory is really bad. And I will think of something and I'll grab my phone to look it up, and then I can't remember why I got my phone. And I just sit there with my phone in my hand, and it was like, what was I going to look up? What was I thinking about? Like, why was I going to do this? And I know that now that has to do with depression. But there have been times where I went to the doctor and actually said, I think I have dementia. I think I have early onset amnesia, early onset Alzheimer's. And I'm like, I am so forgetful, and I can't get my thoughts together. I can't remember anything. Like, something is really wrong with me. I would look up websites and find the symptoms and the beginning tells of dementia or Alzheimer's, because I was just convinced that there was something really wrong with me. Well, it's another physical symptom of depression. Feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on past failures or self-blame. That is so true. Now, I think about the past and I think, well, if you had just done this, or if you had just done that, well, you wouldn't be in this mess right now. When what I need to be thinking about is, okay, you are in this mess right now. Where do we go from here? Fixating on the past is not going to help me. Worrying about the future is not going to help me. Figuring out what I need to do today to try to take steps towards fixing my life, that's what I need to be focused on. But because of my depression, because of the negative thoughts, it automatically starts bringing up all of the things that I did wrong that brought me to this place. And I have, those feelings of failure. I can't tell you how many times I have prayed and I'm like, God, I have failed so much. There has to be something that you would approve of me doing that I could actually be successful at. Why can't I win? I know I hear those songs, that talk about, can a loser ever win? And I think that, is it possible for me to win? Or is it just that my life has already been predetermined and there is no way for me to get ahead or for me to be successful? I really get bogged down in those feelings of worthlessness and guilt and thinking that there's something wrong with me. And wow, it really is brutal. Frequent or recurrent thoughts of death, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts. Now, here's where I am with that. I did a video on I'm depressed and having suicidal thoughts. I will say that this has been something that has come up several times over the last few weeks. And this is new for me. Not completely new, like I have had those in the past, but for me, what usually happens with me is more a passive suicidal thoughts. In other words, I don't care if I die, or I go to bed and I don't care if I wake up, or I am depressed and thinking, well, I don't understand. Why was I even born? Why was I even created? Why am I even here? Like, I would have been better off just never to have existed. Okay, that's more passive, and that's what I'm used to. But I will say that during this period of time, I have actually had thoughts about maybe I should, and I have had thoughts about how to do it, and I've had real thoughts, and those are things that I've really had to fight against. I've had to use coping skills and say, Laurie, you need to stay in today. For today, you have a place to live. You have food. For today, you have people that love you. For today, you are safe. I have to remind myself that, Laurie, you have enough money to last for 2 months. Anything could happen in the next 2 months. You may start to feel better mentally, and you may come up with a plan to help yourself. Don't give up before your miracle. Don't give up before God even has a chance to rescue you out of this. So I am really having to work at that one, and I'm really struggling with that one. And that one's a little different for me this time. That's how I know that I am really, really in a bad mental health state, and one of the worst that I've ever been in. The last one is unexplained physical problems such as back pain or headaches. Now, that is something that I've definitely noticed for me. When I get depressed, on my left, behind my left shoulder, right around that curve, right smack dab there in the middle, under that curve, I get very, very strong, intense pains. And I'm always going like this, you know, and my neck, my left neck hurts. The left side of my neck hurts. And I also notice that I do get headaches. And I notice that I start to kind of hurt all over and ache all over. Another big one for me are chest pains. And I can't tell you how many times over the years that I have gone to the emergency room thinking I was having a heart attack, because, you know, my jaw would start to hurt and my left arm would start to hurt, which I think that has to do with the shoulder hurting, and it just radiates down my arm. I would get a tightness in the chest. Now, if you're having these symptoms, for goodness sakes, absolutely have them checked out, because it could be your heart. But what I have noticed over the years is I go to the emergency room and they say, it's not your heart. And I ask them, well, do you think it's anxiety or depression or whatever? And they won't tell you. So for me, I have learned to say, okay, Laurie, these symptoms you've experienced before, you've gone to the hospital and nothing was wrong. But again, please, if you're having chest pains, if you are having, you know, pains in your jaw and in your left arm, if you are having symptoms of a heart attack, please have that checked out. Don't go by me. I'm just someone who has been to the hospital emergency room dozens of times and had to pay so much money just to find out that I wasn't having a heart attack. And now I recognize, like, okay, this feels like a heart attack, and yet you know the truth. Another thing is, and this was not one of the 12, but it was somewhere in the comments or whatever of the Mayo Clinic. It was talking about wanting to stay at home rather than going out to socialize or doing new things. And we kind of already covered that. You know, I've even gotten to where I don't like people coming over here. The other day, I had a friend offer to come over. She was coming by this way and she wanted to stop by and bring me a piece of cake. And I really regretted not allowing her to do that for me, because I really could have just used a hug. I just needed a hug. I just needed a friendly face. But because I'm kind of isolating myself, because I don't feel like being around other people, and because I am worried about how I might react when I'm around them and that I might offend someone, I'm pushing people away and I'm isolating. I know my brother stopped by unexpectedly the other day, and he hugged me on the way out. And I had had such a bad night the night before, and I had cried and cried, and I was so depressed. and just didn't feel like I wanted to live. And I walked out to the parking lot and I said, wait a minute. I said, I need another hug, and I need a bigger hug. Like, I just need a hug. And it made me feel better. And I really regretted not having her come over. I mean, she was more than happy to stop by, bring me a piece of cake, try to cheer me up. But I've made myself afraid of being around other people. And there is reason to that. I mean, I yelled at Siri. I yelled at Siri. I have yelled at insurance people. I have yelled at people that ended up being a spam call. You know, I know that I am struggling with my temper. I know I had a neighbor the other day who was just goofing around, but he said his stomach was bothering him. And I was like, oh, you know, don't get near me. I don't want to get sick. Well, he started coming toward me. Now, he knew that his stomach was upset because of what he had eaten. He knew that he wasn't sick, but he thought it was funny to come toward me and to say, oh, yeah, you know, and he started getting closer. I got so angry. I got so mad, so scared, so agitated. And I am so glad I had my car keys with me, and I just jumped in the car and said, I've got to get going. And I think, I don't even know where I went. Now that I think about it, I don't know if I was heading out to get something to eat, because I haven't been driving. I've actually been staying at home, so I don't even know where I went. But I remember thinking, thank goodness I had my keys in my hand and I could get in my car and drive off. And I'm so glad that I didn't holler, because it wasn't his fault. He was just playing around and being goofy. But I get startled easy. Now, that's not something that was on here. But because I'm so depressed, and because I'm so, I don't know, fragile, you know, I get startled very easily. And that's another thing. Like today. Today is a better day. Today I have a little more control over my emotions, and that's why I decided to slap some powder on. But I still feel very fragile. I still feel like I'm not out of this, but I feel like I'm very grateful to have a better day. Let me tell you this. Any day that I don't cry, I thank God that I didn't cry. Now, I haven't been able to say that prayer in several weeks. Today, no, I can't say that today. But I can be grateful that I haven't cried as much. I can be grateful that I got in the shower, threw on some makeup, and got on here and did a YouTube video, because these videos are important to me. It makes me feel like I have a purpose, and I enjoy doing it. Plus, I just wanted somebody to talk to. So I just thought, well, talk to YouTube, talk to the people out there. So anyway, those are the symptoms of depression, and those are kind of, you know, the views of a patient telling you how the symptoms affect me. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.